Hey, so do you find that talk therapy does nothing when it comes to your social anxiety? So you leave the therapist office feeling great, but then as soon as you're back in the social situation, it's the exact same thing. You still get anxious automatically. Okay, so if that's something you experience, stick around. I'm gonna help you understand why that is, why talk therapy is not the solution, and then I'm gonna help you understand a far more effective approach. Okay, so let's get into this right now. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Rubin and I help individuals eliminate their social anxiety attacks. So the blank mind, the racing heart, the panic, the feeling like you can't breathe, the shaky and embarrassing voice. If that's something you struggle with, then I would consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification beside it so that you can be notified as soon as I release helpful videos just like this one. So I'm gonna go out on a whim here and assume this is something you experience, right? You go to the therapist and you share, you become vulnerable and you share what you're experiencing. In social situations, I just feel completely triggered. I feel like it's an out-of-body experience. My mind goes blank. I can't stay present with people. I feel like I can't breathe. I can't think straight. The words aren't getting in. And then the therapist responds, that is a lot to deal with. I'm really sorry that you're going through that. How does that make you feel, right? And then you respond, well, I just feel like a defective person. I don't feel normal. Like, who has this problem? Walking around with this anxiety, scared every single moment that it's going to be exposed to other people. Can't even hold a conversation without my mind going blank. Can't even, finish my train of thought ever. And you share this. I feel completely hopeless. I feel, like it's never going to get resolved. I feel doomed. Okay? And it feels good. In the moment, that feels good to get that off of your chest. But then you go into the social situation and it feels like it's resolved over here because you leave the therapist's office feeling great. But then you go into the social situation and it's the same old shit. The mind going blank, the automatic response, the automatic panic, feeling like you're stuck in your head and you can't get out of it, feeling like you're in a prison up here, right? Disconnected from people, like there's a wall in between you and you can't connect with people. It's the same old automatic response. And the reason why that is, the reason that talking about it doesn't resolve the root of the issue is because the root of the issue is more of a form of PTSD. And so let's take a moment to talk about this PTSD, right? Big topic. It's characterized by my nightmares, flashbacks, severe anxiety, mood disturbances, really intense mood disturbances around the fact or around the experience of a traumatic event that you experienced or you watched somebody else experience, okay? So typically this is the stereotypical thing, everybody knows about the war veteran. They went to war and now when they come back, they're back in their country, they get the flashbacks. They get the mood disturbances, the anxiety. They get the nightmares about what they saw or what they went through during the war. Okay, everybody knows about that. It even extends to people like going through car accidents, burn victims, okay? That is the traumatic event that you experienced. And so what happens during that traumatic experience, in the moment, what happens is your body goes into full-on survival mode. Okay, the front of your brain, the brain that's responsible for thinking and speaking and being rational, that is completely out the window. And this survival mode completely takes over. And then what else happens? Because your brain is a survival mechanism. It's responsible for keeping you alive. Okay, so what the brain's going to do to ensure that thing doesn't happen again, it's going to take a snapshot, okay, of the people, the circumstances, maybe the space you were in, and then moving forward, anything that reminds your brain, it's in the emotional part of your brain, anything that reminds your emotional part of your brain of that past experience It's gonna flood you and it's gonna cause you to go into that survival mode automatically, right? Because it doesn't want that to happen again, and it's associated that past event with life or death situations. How do you survive life or death situations? Is you shut down cognition, you shut down that kind of functioning, and you go into survival mode. And so there's a number of things that can trigger that emotional part of the brain. It can be people, circumstances, certain locations, certain spaces, even certain smells. There's all of these different things that can trigger that part of the brain and cause it to, as we say, flash back to that past experience to the point where you're no longer present. As far as your mind and your body are concerned, you're no longer in the present moment, but you're reliving that past traumatic experience that happened. And you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with social anxiety, right? Everything. It has everything to do with social anxiety. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But before, I just want to give you a little bit of education on how your brain, the different functions that live within it, and how they have to integrate together for you to be functional and present in this world, right? In your day-to-day life. So think about it. If you were driving in traffic and you saw, a really dangerous driver, but they're, 100, 200 meters ahead, and you can keep your distance away from it. Right away, as soon as you see the dangerous driver, the erratic driver, your emotional brain fires. It's gonna fire, it's gonna sense danger, you're gonna start to get a bit of a physiological response, okay? Now, what the front of the brain does, it's responsible for thinking, right? Thinking rationally and speaking, okay? And what this aspect of the brain is gonna do, it's going to fire back and let the emotional brain know that everything's okay. It's gonna give it the bigger perspective of the situation and not that emotional response. So it's gonna override this emotional response, okay? But let's say you had an extremely traumatic car accident, okay? Back in the day, you had a really bad car accident, and this dangerous driver, you see that dangerous driver in the distance. Your emotional brain, because of that snapshot that it took from the past event, it's going to fire. And it's gonna fire so intensely that the front of your brain that's trying to give it perspective and let it know that everything's okay, it won't be able to override this emotional response, okay? And that's when you're gonna go into, remember, full-on survival mode. The rational thinking is out the door at that moment. And so let's bring this back to social anxiety, right? So what's at the root of social anxiety? It's a relational violation is at the root of social anxiety. An interpersonal violation that caused you to lose trust in other people and yourself, and it took away your ability to feel safe in this world, okay? So that's at the root of social anxiety. I'm gonna give you an example here. And so performance anxiety, this performing in front of a group, is one of the most common issues that we see with our students coming through Trigger Free. And one student in particular, this one stands out for me, is he was from Greek origin. He's born in Philly though, American, Greek origin, but one summer, he went to go visit Greece to visit his grandparents, okay? So he went to go visit Greece, and he attended the summer school there. And during summer school, his teacher was picking on him because he didn't know the Greek language, okay? He's American, so he didn't pick up on his language of origin, right? And his teacher kept picking on him, bringing him up to the front of the class, trying to force him to talk about the topics that they were talking about and answer questions in Greek when he didn't know it, and the class kept laughing at him, okay? They kept giggling, the whole class was kind of turned against him by the teacher, and that's the relational violation. That's the interpersonal violation. Why? Because think about it, for like a 5-year-old young boy, that is absolutely traumatic, right? It's a relational, it's a complete violation. You can't even feel safe in a classroom. The one environment that's supposed to be for learning, that's supposed to be for your development, that's supposed to be your springboard into, a fulfilling a life out there, to go live your life out there in the world, in the real world. It's not a safe place. It's a place of humiliation and embarrassment and shame, okay? So do you see that? That is the traumatic event, okay? So fast forward into his adult life in his 30s, or he's about 30 years old. In his work meetings, whenever he's put in the spot, mind keeps going blank. I'm blanking out. I'm getting this anxiety. I can't breathe. My chest feels tight. Okay? So what's happening is, remember, the snapshot. In his current environment, it's this group is performing in front of this group of people. In the past, performing in front of a group of people. His brain doesn't know the very specifics here. All it knows is it senses danger. This thing's reminding him of the past event. So what does it do? It floods him with that survival mode, and it shuts down any rational abilities, the thinking, the speaking. It shuts it all down. So connecting the dots here with PTSD, right? Like we were talking about. Flashbacks. There's the flashback. Anxiety. Extreme anxiety in the moment. Extreme anxiety. Mood alteration. Why? Because it completely makes him feel like he's defective and there's something wrong with him and he can't be like his other coworkers. It makes him want to isolate from people. It makes him not want to talk to people after. Sound familiar? Also, you'll notice sometimes you'll have these reoccurring dreams all the time of these past experiences, of you trying to perform this thing in front of the class, or this past performance that you had. It'll keep replaying and replaying in your dreams. And so talk therapy, what it's doing, it's working with the front of your brain, with your thinking and speaking processes in order to get a better understanding of this emotional brain. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're getting a better intellectual understanding. But that doesn't mean that your emotional brain's not going to fire in that moment and set off that alarm throughout your mind and body when it's reminded of that past experience. And that's why the talk therapy may not be working for you. And just a heads up, I have nothing against talk therapy, okay? It has its place, okay? But the thing is, the right tool at the wrong time is still the wrong tool, okay? And this tool, if you are, for example, if you're the type of person that holds everything inside, you have nobody to talk to, you can't be vulnerable with anybody in your life, you don't feel safe opening up and sharing your vulnerabilities with anybody, then that's a good first step to just go get things off of your chest. To just have somebody to listen to you without judgment and to listen to you from an open place. That's a good first step, okay? But remember, ultimately, you do want to work on that snapshot. You want to know ultimately what that trigger is exactly. What's being triggered in the present moment that's setting off the blank mind and the racing heart and all of these symptoms, okay? Understand that is not a confidence issue. It has nothing to do with confidence, right? That has to do with trauma. Okay, and so if you want to learn more, if you want a process to go and find what those past traumatic experiences are, even if you don't think it was super traumatic and it wasn't a big deal, hey, your symptoms that you're facing in the moment in your current life, that's the truth, okay? So there is something in the past that you need to take a look at. If you're interested in learning a method that's going to help you get down there, then what I would do is download my free guide, okay? I'm going to link it below the video. It's extremely powerful. It's a 5-step method that's going to help you get down to those past experiences, those past traumatic experiences, and then heal them so when your brain is reminded of that past experience, it no longer floods you and puts you into that survival mode, okay? So extremely powerful. How to heal this snapshot permanently. I highly recommend diving into that, going through the steps, and implementing that into your life right away. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I have daily tips, inspiration, just a ton of content that's gonna help you eventually eliminate those social anxiety attacks so you don't have to plan your life around them. You don't have to overthink everything you do, and you don't have to feel ashamed about it and defective anymore, okay? So really important. You can also join our Facebook group. I'll put both of those links below the video as well. You can come in there if you want to ask me questions, if you have something specific that you want to ask, or if you just want to connect with a like-minded community. It's an amazing supportive group. And if you found the video helpful, please like and subscribe so I can get these videos and this information to you to help you along your journey so you can leave that social anxiety behind you for good. And if you're still watching, thank you so much for staying with me until the end. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video, okay? We'll talk soon. All right, peace out.